Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I have an interesting story that has some implications for what might have happened in history. Let's begin. The catastrophic events of September 11, 2001 forever altered the course of history. These attacks set in motion a cascade of wars, tightened security measures, and reshaped national priorities around the globe, especially in the United States. However, in a speculative alternate history where the attacks are thwarted, thanks to the magical intervention of the cousins Logan Trichenberg, Dickie Trichenberg, and Andrea Marshall Elan, a vastly different world emerges. This essay will explore the political, social, and personal repercussions in a world where the September 11, 2001 attacks had never happened, examining the angry backlash of those who believed the attacks should have happened, the shifting focus on domestic issues like homelessness and mental health, and how international diplomacy would have evolved. Logan, Dickie, and Andre's successful use of magic to prevent the September 11th attacks may initially seem like a monumental victory. The lack of destruction on that fateful day leads to an era where the war on terror never materializes, meaning the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq never occur. Thousands of American lives, as well as countless lives in the Middle East, are spared. And trillions of dollars that would have been spent on military operations are now available for domestic use. Yet, this victory does not come without consequence. The existence of such powerful magic raises new ethical concerns. What happens when such individuals have the power to shape the course of history? While Logan, Dickie, and Andrea save millions, they are also thrust into conflict with factions who believe the attacks should have happened. These groups might argue that the September 11th attacks was a necessary event to wake the world up to the dangers of radical extremism, creating the grounds for global vigilance. In this version of history, a new wave of conspiracy theorists and extremist thinkers emerges, determined to either discredit the cousins' actions or seek revenge for what they perceive as a global disruption. These dissenting voices organize protests, attempt political upheavals, and possibly plot their own acts of terror to correct what was undone. The cousins, therefore, are not merely historical saviors, but also polarizing figures. They must now deal with this angry faction while navigating the ethical questions surrounding the use of magic in matters of global consequence. In the absence of the war on terror, the United States finds itself in a unique position. The financial and political resources previously allocated to fighting terrorism are now redirected towards long-standing domestic issues like pervasive homelessness, rampant drug use, and crumbling mental health care infrastructure. By 2001, the U.S. had already been dealing with increasing rates of homelessness and drug addiction, problems exacerbated by the economic downturns of the 1990s and flawed social policies. In a world where the September 11th attacks never happened, the trillions of dollars saved from military campaigns and defense spending could be redirected to combat these pressing issues. Imagine a scenario where instead of building endless military bases in the Middle East, the government focuses on constructing affordable housing complexes, expanding drug rehabilitation centers, and reopening mental hospitals. The resources that would have been used to fuel wars are instead utilized to fuel a social renaissance within the country. In this alternate timeline, bipartisan legislation could emerge, emphasizing the need for universal mental health care and social safety nets. The cousins, as figures with newfound fame for their historical role in averting a disaster, might also use their influence to advocate for these changes. Their magical abilities could even assist in identifying solutions to these problems, such as magically enhanced treatments for drug addiction or homelessness prevention measures that rely on more than mere physical resources. The reopening of mental hospitals becomes a particularly powerful moment in this alternate history. In the real world, mental hospitals were often closed en masse during the latter half of the 20th century, leading to a rise in homelessness and inadequate mental health care. In this new timeline, the U.S. government, armed with newfound financial flexibility, begins to rethink these closures. Facilities are rebuilt, programs are reimagined, and mental health becomes a national priority. The Trichenberg family and their magical influence could also subtly guide mental health professionals in ways that lead to more humane and effective treatments, bringing both supernatural and scientific advancements into collaboration. Without the September 11th attacks, U.S. foreign policy undergoes a profound shift. The national security apparatus, no longer obsessed with counterterrorism, can now turn its attention toward other pressing global issues such as climate change, international poverty, and ongoing geopolitical tensions. The time and energy that would have gone into war planning and anti-terror initiatives are now funneled into diplomacy, humanitarian aid, and international collaboration. Countries in the Middle East, which were not subjected to invasions or prolonged military occupation, experience a different trajectory. Though the roots of extremism are still present, without the galvanizing effect of U.S. intervention, these movements remain more regionalized and less influential on a global scale. Furthermore, America's diplomatic approach to these nations focuses more on economic development, education, and human rights advocacy, resulting in a slower but steadier improvement in relations. Foreign conflicts in other regions, such as those involving North Korea, Russia, or China, are also dealt with in more calculated ways. The diplomatic efforts of the U.S. are geared toward resolving global crises, rather than exacerbating them through military might. With the additional resources and strategic flexibility, it's possible that tensions in places like North Korea or Ukraine are approached differently, with a greater focus on diplomacy and economic sanctions rather than saber-rattling. Amid this broader societal shift, family dynamics are also subject to re-evaluation, with mental health care reimagined and resources now being directed to domestic crises. Families are better equipped to handle issues like mental illness, substance abuse, and poverty within their own units. This newfound attention on social issues may lead to a change in the perception of familial responsibility and support. Rather than abandoning members who struggle with addiction or mental illness, families are encouraged and even given the resources to confront these issues head-on. For families like the Trichenbergs, their own internal dynamics shift dramatically. Having been involved in such monumental events, their role in society is fundamentally altered. They must now navigate their fame, power, and responsibility within the context of their own relationships. Jacqueline Romanoff, Sean Trichenberg, and others within their inner circle must grapple with balancing their public duties and private lives. The pressure to use their magical gifts for the public good places strain on their relationships, requiring them to examine whether their bonds are built on loyalty, love, or obligation. In this alternate history, the prevention of the September 11, 2001 attacks created a strange new world that is at once more peaceful and more complex. The absence of the war on terror allows the U.S. to refocus its resources on domestic problems like homelessness, drug addiction, and mental health. Meanwhile, the magical intervention by Logan Dickey and Andrea creates a new set of challenges, as they must navigate the backlash of those who believe the attacks should have happened. Though this world is spared from experiencing the pain and destruction of the September 11th attacks, it is by no means perfect. The cousins must contend with the consequences of their actions, while the global community adjusts to new political realities. And yet, there is hope. With attention turned inward, America begins to heal its long-neglected wounds, and with the cousins' guidance, new paths forward are forged. Ultimately, this is a world where magic and humanity come together to create a more thoughtful, nuanced, and compassionate future. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to stay updated with the latest content from me, please consider subscribing to my channel and turning on notifications. Your support is greatly appreciated. and it helps me continue to create more content for you. Please let me know what you think of this video by posting your comments down below. Have an awesome day, and I will see you soon with another video.